Hello students. Now we are studying the atherosclerosis, but not the entire topic of atherosclerosis. We are just studying the pathogenesis of atherosclerosis. Now in the first diagram, if I see that here I have given one blood vessel I will say. This is the blood vessel, fine. And in this blood vessel, if you see that here are the RBC that is floating over here, then what is this yellow patch that is present? This yellow patch is the deposition of the lipid inside the blood vessel. So what is happening? Narrowing of the blood vessel is taking place. Enough oxygen is not getting supplied because enough blood is not moving through this region. So let us study this atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis, what is the condition? The condition is there is an increase in the thickness and stiffness of the arteries. And it is also called what? It is called arteriosclerotic vascular disease, that is ASVD. Now, from where did this name come? This name has come from two different words. One is athero, the other is sclerosis. What is athero? Athero means porridge. Porridge, you know. Have you eaten a porridge? It is a thick mass. Or you can say, if you see nowadays you people are taking oats, it has a sticky mass that is called porridge. That type of substance is called porridge. So why it is porridge? Because there is a soft lipid substance which is called atheroma. And what we had shown you, that yellow patch, that is called atheroma, which gets deposited. And what is sclerosis? Sclerosis means scarring. Now in pharmacology or in pathophysiology, scarring means that there will be deposition of connective tissues, small strands of connective tissue in the plaques. Now in this atherosclerosis, if we see, it is usually the arteries that get affected. Whether it is aorta, it can be coronary artery, popliteal artery. What is popliteal artery? Popliteal artery, it is located behind your knee. That is another region where your block takes place. And then cerebral artery. Now, what happens if atherosclerosis is there? Why it is so means, why people are so much scared? Why we are so much concerned about this atherosclerosis? We are concerned about this atherosclerosis because we know that blood vessels have blood. Blood is getting circulated into our entire body. If the total amount of blood is getting reduced, that means oxygen to a particular organ is getting reduced, and that when the supply of oxygen is reduced to a particular organ, we call that as ischemic condition, either ischemia or ischemia. Clear? So loss of blood supply or less amount of blood supply against an increased demand means the demand for the tissue is more, but the supply of the oxygen is less to that tissue. That is called ischemic condition. And this atherosclerosis is very much concerned. We are very much concerned about this atherosclerosis because two major regions are affected. One is coronary and the other is the cerebral. Coronary means it is the heart. Cerebral means it is the brain. Now when we study, we should know we should go into the structure of artery. Now the structure of the artery, here let me explain it to you. See, this is your artery and this is the vein. The most common thing is the lumen, that is the inner hole through which the blood is passing. Lumen of the artery is of less diameter, or it is narrower, and this is very wide of the vein. But we are concerned with this lumen of, or the entire structure of the artery rather than vein over here. Now what are the various layers? If I take a dissection of this part, we see that this inner layer that is covering the lumen is the endothelial layer, which you have studied already, that in inflammation the endothelial layer is covering your blood vessel in the inner layer, which protects the blood vessel from exposure to the blood cells. Then comes the red circle over here, that is mentioned is tunica intima. Now whatever deposition of the lipid takes place in atherosclerosis takes place in this tunica intima. Then the yellow surface, it is the tunica media. This part is tunica media, and the outer part, it is called the tunica externa. Clear? So this entire structure should be clear to you, then only you can understand how this atherosclerosis is taking place. Now the next slide we go. Here is the pathogenesis. That is how it is taking place. Hypertension. This is one cause. Second is hemodynamic stress. What is hemodynamic activity? Hemodynamic activity means the physiology of the blood vessel. That means how much blood is flowing, whether the oxygen tension is proper, whether the carbon dioxide tension is proper, whether the air exchange is proper, whether a total amount of hemoglobin that is present is normal. That is hemodynamic condition. What is the stressful condition? Stressful condition means that whenever any of this physiology changes, that means suppose the oxygen falls, the carbon dioxide increases, hemoglobin reduces in the RBC. These are the hemodynamic stress. Then we have external toxins. Toxins means poisonous substance. One of them is cigarette. And the last is increased LDL. LDL is what? Low density lipoproteins. Like you have heard about cholesterol, isn't it? Now this cholesterol are of different types, or the triglycerides present in the body are of different types, of which the triglycerides, that is HDL, LDL and VLDL. LDL and VLDL are not good for the body. They are, you will see that whenever your parents or your elderly person in your home, they go to the doctor, they check the LDL and the VLDL level. This is not at all good in the body. Of all these four things, if they are present, any one also, if it is present in a chronic condition, that is in a continuous type, then what will happen? There is an endothelium damage. The endothelial layer gets damaged. If endothelial layer gets damaged, three things occur. One is platelet adhesion will take place at that region. Second, the plasma protein. What are the plasma proteins? The albumin and the globulin. They move out from the blood and go and diffuse into the tunica intima. And the third thing that happens is the monocyte, they migrate into the tunica intima. You have already seen that in case of inflammation, that monocyte always, whenever there will be rupture in the endothelial layer, the monocyte moves out and goes into the cell. So this thing is happening. Now, platelet adhesion, what they do is they increase the release of your platelet derived growth factor, PDGF release occur. What happens is the proliferation of the myointimal cell occur. Proliferation means increased growth of myointimal. Myo means muscle, intimal means of tunica intima. This cell increases. That means the thickness is increasing over there. Second thing what happens is the plasma protein, after it goes into the intima, it oxidizes the LDL that is present. The oxidation of the LDL, what it does, it get absorbed into the monocyte and they form the foam cells. Foam cells means when this monocyte absorb the lipid inside it, they form a foamy-like structure. Foam you have seen in case of soap. That foamy-like structure is formed. And these foam cells are not good for the body. This foam cell releases various cytokines like interleukins are one of them. Now these cytokines also cause the increase in the tunica intima cells, and this again leads to collagen synthesis. And when collagen synthesis occurs, the collagen gets deposited into the blood vessel. This leads to the thickness and stiffness of the blood vessel. Here there is a diagrammatic representation of the entire process. See, this is the endothelial layer. Sorry. Now this one is the endothelial layer. This is the lumen. And this is tunica intima. This is your tunica media. Now what happens is, the LDL, there was a rupture in the this one endothelial layer. LDL from the blood is entering into the tunica intima. It is getting oxidized. Again, what happens when there is rupture of the endothelial layer, then the monocytes that are present in the blood, a type of your WBC, they enter into the they can pass through the endothelial layer, that is called migration or diapedesis, and they form the macrophage in the tunica intima. This macrophage now takes up the LDL over there. This is called lipid uptake. This lipid uptake forms the foam cells, that is macrophage along with the lipid forms the foam cells. Again, what happens is, there is proliferation of the smooth muscle cell. The proliferation of smooth muscle cell takes place in the tunica media, and they allow, as the number of smooth muscle cell is increasing, it moves from in media to the intima layer. And what happens? The growth factors are activated, cytokines get activated, more smooth muscles are formed. So there will be thickness in the blood vessel. This thickness narrows the lumen. If you remember, the artery structure is already a narrow one. Now more deposition is making it a narrower. So blood supply is reduced. Moreover, what happens? Excess amount of lipid is there. Excess amount of lipid got oxidized. And this excess amount of lipid, there are gaps in the endothelial layer. They move out of the endothelial layer, goes into the lumen, get deposited over here. As a result, if you remember the first figure I have shown, that there is deposition of the lipid substance into the blood vessel. As a result, the blood flow and the oxygen supply reduces. As a result, that lead to either heart attack or stroke. So this was about the pathogenesis of your atherosclerosis. Related to this, there are certain questions given to you. If you go through these questions, you will have a clear idea about the entire topic. Second thing, remember, whenever you give a mechanism or the method, please provide diagrams, because pathophysiology or physiology is always related with the diagram. The book reference has been given to you. Harsh Mohan will be easier. And there are other references of a paper I have given. If you want to go through it, you can see that it has a vast topic on the pathogenesis of atherosclerosis. Thank you.